Okay, so what we did is we set up the grid example container 3 with grid template areas. We named the areas and EX31, EX3. Now these are names. We happen to have class names that are the same, but it doesn't do a whole lot of anything yet. It just lays them out into the grid, which remember our grid template columns is a fraction, a fraction, a fraction. So if I did a few more divs, they'd overflow into the next row. Every row will have the same columns as we've defined it. But what we have to do is, having given it grid template areas, we have to tell each grid child has a property called grid area. These happen to be the same because that's logical, but it won't pick up anything by class names. So let's do this, EX31 and EX32. Okay, so right now, this is what you see. As soon as I hit save.
Interesting. Okay.
Right. But we have more to, so that solved that issue. There's more to do yet. So that figured the first row. So let's name all these guys just to show that there's nothing up our sleeve, right? And so this is 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, right? Yep. So what we have to do is lay out our grid areas to account for this. So let's do it. Syntax might look a little weird, but what you're going to do is each row in your grid, something like that. 3 goes here. Here's the crazy trick, Graham. How about that?
Oh, come on.
I kid you not, man.
Wow.
Uh-huh. Mind blown, right? Okay, 4. I know it's fun bringing in 110 kilobytes of gzipped extra code, but so 4, and
four together.
we'll put another 4 there, right?
Yeah.
Then we need 5 and then 6. I grabbed the period by mistake, but that's okay. Oh, no, I didn't. All right. Nothing will happen yet because I don't have that many divs. Let's add some divs, shall we?
That's crazy.
It is, isn't it? One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, save.
Okay, they're named 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. So the text that's in the div.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Yep, that would have made yet another way to make a fool out of me, right?
Cause some confusion. We're not here to do that.
Yeah, you're keeping me out of the weeds. Appreciate that. All right.
Is this what companion programming is called, or
Paired programming? Yeah. Okay, something's not quite. We got 1, 2, and 3 happy. Let's just work through it, right?
I think go back to the CSS.
Yeah.
And you don't have 3, 4, and 5, or 5, 6, and 4, 5, and 6 defined. Come down, down.
You're good. I planted that question, or I planted that error and let Graham find it. No, I didn't.
I would copy from above.
4, EX3. Oh, the colors. Yep.
We lose the colors.
You are quite right. So we'll take salmon. We don't need that, right? And we don't want an extra E on there. So 5. EX3. 6, and as you mentioned, I'll get the content color from above. Okay, so EX3, 2, EX3, 3.
4, 5
Grid
already.
area, grid area.
6. Crazy.
that?
Holy smokes. That's nuts.
Isn't it?
Wow.
Wait, there's more. I don't want these things touching, man.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Yeah. If it's a real website or a web app, you probably don't want them touching, right?
Yep. Oh, that's wild. And presumably there's a row gap.
Yep.
Wow. Wow. Okay, that's interesting. So the row gap doesn't touch on the bottom.
No, because that's before and after. There's a couple noteworthy concepts with grid that I didn't touch on.
Let's take a look. The outermost white rectangle represents the element acting as a grid container. An element becomes a grid container when its display property is set to grid. Let's talk about grid lines, grid track, and grid cell. So grid lines are the horizontal and vertical divider lines between cells. You can see the horizontal ones are shown in red here and the vertical ones are shown in gray. These are 1-based, not 0-based. So if we look at cell A, the vertical line to the left of it would be 1. Ditto with rows. The grid track is a space between two adjacent grid lines. So it's in essence a row or a column of cells. And a grid cell is the space between two adjacent horizontal and two adjacent vertical grid lines. So pretty self-evident what they mean. The naming is pretty intuitive. Let's move on and take a look at an example. So for in the above diagram, the cell labeled C, here's the CSS for it. Its grid row start is 1, its grid row end is 2, its grid column start is 3, its grid column end is 4. One more example, you can see cell G actually spans 2 grid rows. And so for the grid column end, instead of giving it a number, we told it span 2. So that's another way to do it.
Well, just for fun,
referring to the element labeled as 4,
if I really wanted to, I could say grid column start 2 and grid column end, I could give it 3, 4. So it'd be 4 it would end on.
Huh.
I could say grid row start 2 because the top would be the first one and this would be the second. Grid row end 3. Named areas is more intuitive though, because what I like about the named areas, right? So again, what I was saying is instead of grid area EX34, I could go grid column start and, to grid column end, you got it, right? Start end,
Yep.
and then
Yep.
same with rows.
Yeah.
But you see, that's a whole bunch of numbers, and I have to hunt and peck through a bunch of CSS to find that. How visual is that? That's visual, right? Like you can see what the heck's going on. So
That's
this
cool.
is so easy to follow, and it makes it easier. Now, as I mentioned, we want to do media queries for sizes and whatnot. Like this layout wouldn't be appropriate for mobile. This is just a demo.
Yeah, of course.
When we build the real components, let's actually do it the right way, and let's make a responsive footer. Okay, so let's come back and work on the footer.
You know what's in my head is Lego.
Mhm.
This
Yeah.
is literally like laying out Lego.
It is.
Yeah, cool. Very cool.
And if you get the hang of making React components and laying them out with grid, it is like Lego.
Yeah.
It's pretty effective. Okay, so let's work on the footer.